The journey to the heart of the order doesn't start with a secret handshake or a hidden map. It starts with a long, grueling climb up the jagged cliffs of the Alborz Mountains. You are a seeker, perhaps a man who has lost his family to a corrupt governor, or a scholar who realized that words are useless against a sword. You have traveled for months to reach Alamat, the eagle's nest, a fortress carved directly into the living rock, appearing more like a natural peak than a man-made castle. But the true test isn't the climb, it is the gate. The reality of the candidate is a trial of absolute patience. You aren't greeted with open arms. Instead, you are told to sit outside the heavy iron-studded gates. You sit on the cold, hard stone for 3 days and 3 nights. You're given no food and only a small amount of water. The guards walk past you as if you were a ghost. They are watching to see if you will beg, if you will grow angry, or if you will simply walk away when the sun becomes too hot or the night too cold. The order doesn't need soldiers who can swing a sword. They need men who can control their own hunger, their own fear, and their own pride. The entry is your final death as an individual. On the 4th morning, the gate creaks open. You are led into a silent, cool courtyard that smells of jasmine and mountain air. You meet a man in simple white robes who tells you that the man who sat at the gate is dead. You have no past, no family, and no desires. You are now a lasik, a student of the order. You are given a simple tunic and a cell with a straw mat. You realize that you haven't just joined a group, you have entered a system that believes nothing is true, everything is permitted. You are a blank scroll, ready for the old man of the mountain to write your new destiny. You have entered the fortress, but the steel hasn't touched your hand yet. Instead, you are handed a stack of scrolls and a candle. This is the rank of lasik. You are an adherent, and your training is far more intellectual than physical. In the mountain strongholds of the Hashashin, the greatest weapon isn't a hidden blade. It is a mind that understands the world better than the kings who rule it. You spend 16 hours a day in a silent stone library, learning the languages of your enemies, Latin, Greek, and Arabic, and studying the philosophies of the East and West. The reality of the lasik is a deep dive into strategic psychology. You aren't just learning how to fight, you are learning how to blend in. You study the rituals of the monks, the manners of the merchants, and the courtly etiquette of the sultans. To the Hashashin, an assassination isn't just a kill, it is a sermon. You learn that to get close to a high-value target, you must be able to argue theology with a bishop or discuss trade routes with a vizier. You are being trained to be a chameleon, a ghost who can walk into a palace not by climbing the walls, but by being invited through the front door because you look and sound like you belong there. The lesson of the adherent is that information is the true poison. You begin to see the flaws in the armor of the powerful. You learn that every king has a fear, every general has a secret, and every empire has a crack in its foundation. You realize that your value to the order isn't your strength, but your utility. You are being sharpened into a tool that can be inserted into any culture, any city, and any situation. You have traded your name for 1,000 different identities. As you master your 5th language and finish the study of the target's lineage, you realize that the old man isn't training you to be a soldier. He is training you to be a nightmare that speaks their own language. The transition to the next level is marked by a sudden, cold ceremony. You are taken to a dark, underground garden filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers. You are told that your education is over and your devotion begins. You are no longer a student, you are a fida'i. You are handed a single, perfectly balanced dagger. The time of books has passed. The time of the blade in the crowd has arrived. The library has vanished, replaced by the suffocating heat of a crowded marketplace in Damascus or the cold stone of a cathedral in Jerusalem. You have reached the rank of fida'i. You are the devoted.
This is the most legendary and terrifying rank in the Order. You aren't a soldier who fights on a battlefield. You are a psychological weapon. Your mission is simple. Find the target, wait for the most public moment possible, and strike. You aren't interested in escaping. You are interested in the sermon of the blade. You are a martyr who has already said goodbye to the sun. The reality of the fida'i is the long wait. You spend months, sometimes years, living as a beggar outside a palace gate or a monk in a foreign monastery. You watch the target's rhythm. You learn when the vizier goes to prayer, which guard is lazy during the afternoon heat, and exactly how many steps it takes to reach the royal dais. You don't use poison that kills in the night. You use a symbolic dagger. When you strike, you do it in front of 1,000 witnesses. You want the world to see that no wall is high enough and no guard is loyal enough to stop the old man's reach. The stakes are absolute and final. At level 3, your life is the currency of the Order. You move with a cold, mechanical calm because you believe that death is merely a portal to the paradise you were shown in the hidden gardens of Alamat. You don't fear the executioner's axe because you have already conquered your own ego. You are a spectacle of terror. When a king finds a Hashashin dagger pinned to his pillow with a note saying, "We could have finished this tonight," you have already won the war without shedding a drop of blood. You are the reason that the most powerful men on earth wear chainmail under their silk robes. The lesson of the devoted is that one death can save 10,000. You see that by removing a single corrupt general, you stop an entire army from marching. You learn that your sacrifice is the ultimate trade. You have traded your future for a single perfect moment of history. As you feel the cold steel of your dagger against your palm and step out from the shadows of a mosque toward the target, you realize that you aren't a murderer. You are a high priest of the shadow. You strike not out of hate, but out of a clinical, divine necessity. The days of standing in a crowded square with a hidden dagger are behind you. You have done the impossible. You struck your target, and, against all odds, you survived or were extracted before the guards could close the circle. This is level 4, the Rafiq. You are a comrade, but your true role is that of field commander. You are no longer the blade, you are the hand that guides it. You have been promoted because you possess something rarer than courage. You have operational wisdom. You are sent to foreign cities, Cairo, Baghdad, or Aleppo, to establish a cell of the Order that can remain dormant for a decade. The reality of the Rafiq is the art of deep infiltration. You don't live in a mountain fortress anymore. You live in a townhouse in the heart of a rival capital. You might spend 5 years as a respected silk merchant or a humble spice trader. You pay your taxes, you attend the local mosque, and you befriended the captain of the city watch. You are a social architect. While the world sees a businessman, the Order sees a logistics hub. You are the one who scouts the palace back doors, bribes the stable hands, and prepares the safe houses where the younger...
The responsibility is tactical timing. At level 4, you are the judge of a mission's success. You watch the political winds. If a sultan is moving toward a peace treaty with your mountains, you hold the blade back. If he signs a pact with your enemies, you give the signal. You are a risk manager for the shadow. You learn that a single, poorly timed assassination can destroy 50 years of the Order's influence. You live with a constant, cold alertness. You check your doors for threads. You test your food for metallic aftertastes, and you speak in coded layers that only another Rafiq can decode. The lesson of the comrade is that patience is a force multiplier. You see that the most effective way to kill a kingdom is to let it rot from within while you watch from a tea house across the street. You learn that your identity as a merchant is just as much a weapon as your steel. You have traded the glory of the martyr for the quiet, invisible power of the director. As you watch a young fida'i arrive at your door, travel-worn and ready for orders, you realize that you are the one who turns his devotion into a strategic masterpiece. The days of managing city cells and counting coins as a merchant are over. You have been called back to the high peaks and given a new title. This is level 5, the die. You are a preacher, but in the world of the Hashashin, your sermons are written in the blood of kings and the fear of empires. You are no longer just a commander of men. You are a master of shadows, an ideological diplomat who travels to the most powerful courts in the world. Your weapon isn't a dagger hidden in a sleeve. It is the threat of the dagger whispered into the ear of a sultan. The reality of the die is diplomatic terror. You spend your days in the opulent palaces of your enemies, dressed in the finest silks and speaking the most refined poetry. You don't hide in the rafters. You sit at the right hand of the ruler. You are a psychological architect. You aren't there to kill the king. You are there to convert his policy. You speak of the order's power with a cold, polite smile. You remind the king that while his army is at the border, a fida'i is already in his kitchen, tasting his soup. You are the one who turns a hard war into a silent submission by proving that no palace is a fortress against the will of the mountain. The risk is high-stakes exposure. At level 5, you are the face of the order. Every guard in the city knows who you are, but they are too afraid to touch you. You live in a glass house of your own making. If you fail to convince the ruler, you don't just lose a mission, you trigger an invasion of your mountain home. You must be a master of information warfare, knowing exactly which secret to reveal to keep a general from marching his troops. You are a shadow sovereign, a man who walks through the halls of power with the weight of an entire secret nation on his shoulders. The lesson of the preacher is that the idea is harder to kill than the man. You see that by planting a seed of fear in a ruler's mind, you control his entire kingdom. You learn that your words are the first strike, and the fida'i's blade is only the final period. You have traded the anonymity of the field for the dangerous visibility of the envoy. As you exit a royal tent, leaving a king trembling over a letter with a blue wax seal, you realize that you are the one who truly holds the leash of the world's most powerful men. The journey that began at the mountain gate has led you to the summit of the world's most feared hierarchy. You have been appointed as the Dai al-Kerman. You are no longer an agent in a foreign city or a preacher in a royal court. You are the sovereign of a mountain. You govern an entire province of fortresses, from the supply lines in the valleys to the watchtowers on the highest peaks. You are a regional grand master, a man who rules a shadow state that pays no taxes to any sultan and fears no army. You are the one who balances the survival of the order against the shifting tides of the Crusades and the rising storm of the East. The reality of the Grand Master is the weight of the crown. You spend your days in a massive circular chamber at the top of a fortress, surrounded by a war council of Rafiqs and Dais. You aren't thinking about a single assassination, you are thinking about total defense. You manage the black budget of the order, the gold from the tribute paid by terrified kings, and the wealth from your own mountain trade. You are a governor of ghosts. You oversee the training of the new Lassics, ensuring that the philosophy of the old man remains pure. You are the one who decides which mountain passes to burn and which alliances to forge with the Crusaders to keep the Seljuks at bay. The stakes are existential survival. At level 6, you are the ultimate target. Every empire in Earth wants your head on a spike, but they know that to strike you is to invite 1,000 fida'i into their own bedrooms. You live in a state of absolute vigilance. You trust no one but the code of the order. You watch the horizon for the dust of an approaching army, knowing that your fortresses are designed to withstand a siege for years. You are a titan of the Silk Road, a man whose signature on a piece of parchment can halt a war or bankrupt a city. You have traded your freedom for the power to ensure that the eagle's nest remains untouched by the chaos of the world below. The lesson of the Grand Master is that power is the ultimate shadow.
You see that the world is a chaotic sea of shifting borders, and your order is the only constant. You learn that peace is a product of absolute deterrence. You have traded your humanity for a cold, clinical understanding of statecraft. As you stand on the ramparts of your fortress, looking out over a valley where a crusader army is turning away because of a single letter you sent,
You realize that history isn't made by the armies on the plains, but by the silent decisions made in rooms like yours. You have created a sanctuary of thought in a world of chaos, and your only price was everything you once called yourself. The weight of the permanent secret is your final companion. You watch the sun set over the Caspian Sea and realize that the order is a fire that will continue to burn long after your bones are dust. You see the young Lasiques arriving at the gate, their faces filled with the same hunger you once felt, and you know the cycle is perfect. You are the architect of a sovereign shadow, a nation without borders that exists only in the minds of those who fear it and those who serve it. You have no monuments, no gold on your fingers, and no records of your triumphs. Your legacy is the silence of a king who decided not to go to war because he feared the shadows in his own hallway. The lesson of the Hashashin is that the truth is what you make of it. You see that by controlling the fear of death, you control the world of the living. You have traded your individual existence for the eternal memory of the order. You reach for a small geometric bowl of water to wash your hands, and you see the reflection of the blue moon in the surface. You are the original shadow, the blueprint for every secret society that will follow. As the heavy iron gates of the fortress groan shut for the night, you realize that while the world thinks you are hiding in the mountains, it is actually the world that is trapped outside your walls.